Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
Hey, what is up, Lock Shoppers and Cool Betters? Welcome to the program. Wednesday, you know what that means. We are going to dive into this week on the PGA Tour, the Memorial Tournament, 1 week ahead of the U.S. Open. Great time in golf season. That, of course, means Pat Gregoire of Coolbet is with us. We'll touch on a little CFL as well with Pat. Before we get into golf, touch on the latest. You know, it's unfortunate with no hockey and no basketball. It's given us more time to watch the Jays. And they played a bunch of bad teams and won 5 of 6. We're all ready for this series, and they have been getting pounded by the Baltimore Orioles. So we'll touch on that a little bit. Again, the Lock Shop each and every day, powered by Coolbet. If you haven't played at Coolbet already, what are you waiting? Take advantage of our Lock Shop exclusives, boosted promos, and get a 100% bonus on your first deposit up to $200 by using the promo code LOCKSHOP. Patty, it is great to see you again. What's going on?
Not much. You nailed it. Like, there's so much going on this weekend. This week, the start of the week, has been a little bit of a lull. It's been nice watching a little more baseball. It hasn't been so nice watching the Blue Jays get stomped by the O's. But I'm ready for a big golf tournament this week. I know there's a lot of talk about the signature events. I don't normally like how they've been stacking like a signature event, major signature event. But when it comes to the Memorial Tournament, you know, this is one of the most prestigious events. It's a great golf course. Jack Nicklaus, obviously it's his tournament, it's his course. But just the fact of the matter is that we're actually talking about golf this week. There's no other distractions about, you know, world best players getting arrested or drama going on with the PGA. Like, it's just golf this week. We've got a great field, a really good field, getting ready for the U.S. Open. Like you said, next week, Pinehurst, another great course, another course that has a lot of similarities to this course. Like, I think this is a true warm up, and a lot of the guys that I'm on this week will probably be on next week as well. So I'm excited for this tournament, but I just want the action to get going. You got NBA finally tomorrow. You got the Memorial teeing off tomorrow, but then we still got to wait all the way till Saturday for the Stanley Cup. But beggars can't be choosers. Let's worry about the golf here. We'll talk about maybe a little NBA, and of course, CFL kicking off tomorrow as well.
That's the thing. We will get to the golf picks and we will get to the Memorial, but it's the first time I've talked to Pat this week, so we do have a lot to get to. By the way, shout out to everyone listening to the Lock Shop as part of EST programming on the Edmonton Sports Talk live stream. And as always, a big warm welcome to the gang in the chat. I see Joel Penner's Pancakes is here, El Presidente, Jen Cool, and of course, our guy, Jake Bolin Moss. Matt Hyman, Tarps Off Hustler. I'm not sure we're getting the Tarps Off. This is a video show. We want to keep everybody here. But you know what? Just Pat Wall, I've got you on here. Just, you know, again, we'll get to golf later on. What a weekend at the Canadian Open. And how about the content machine that JBM was from Hamilton? Man, I mean, I was having FOMO all weekend long because I kept on seeing all these great posts from Jake as he followed Pendy and Svensson, who, by the way, helped you once again cash that Greggy's Golf special. I had a few close calls with the outrights, but that one took care of the week. So nicely done on that. But man, Canadian Open was phenomenal again. It's amazing the momentum that this tournament has after missing 2 years, but having Rory win on back-to-back ends of that. And it just seems to get better and better. The Nick Taylor story last year captivated the entire country. And listen, I was pulling for Mac. I had a ticket on him. There were some great players. But I mean, just for a sports story, a family story, a human interest story, Bobby Mack with his old man on the bag winning. I mean, another incredible week for Golf Canada and our National Open.
I think we can consider Bobby Mack a friend of the program for Lock Shop, because I know in some of the majors and even some of the other tournaments that he has been involved in, we've included him in a sprinkle here or there for sure. But what an unbelievable story. His old man on the bag talking about how, they're going to be mortgage free for the rest of their lives, how badly he wants to go on a bender. And I think he is actually now going to be able to go home and go on a bender because he did withdraw from the Memorial. And a lot of people are saying, no, but you got to ride the hot hand. Nope, he's going home. He's going to enjoy this. Well-deserved as well. You look at the Canadian Open and you talk about the momentum. If you compare this field to last year's field, like this field it was still a very, very good field. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't nearly as good as last year. The Nick Taylor putt, obviously insane. The playoff, the magnitude there. This still had a lot of juice. I know Mac Hughes kind of fell off near the end. If he's in contention, it's at 18, whatever it may be, like then I think we're talking about it even more. But there's now talks south of the border, and I don't know if it will ever happen. But Dan Rappaport from Barstool and Foreplay said he thinks the RBC Heritage should swap out for the RBC Canadian Open as a signature event. People in America are taking note that this is an awesome event, that the fans love it, that there's a lot of great golf courses, not just in the GTA, but all over the country. The players like going. The rink is a great new tradition that is continued to grow and grow. Although I didn't love that hole for the rink, I'll be honest, that's another conversation maybe for another day. But hey, the fans were loving it. The fans were buzzing. Canadian golf, I don't know if it has ever been so strong before. You put all this together, and a signature event would make a lot of sense. But maybe this is me putting on the hat of Golf Canada. If that's the case, we're not having 26 Canadians in the field, though.
See, that's the thing. That's like, is there a way you can make this a signature event and expand it with it being a national open for some other players? Because that really is something that is part of the identity of the Open. The ability for an Aaron Cockrell to come over from the DP World Tour and to play in it. For a number of Canadians that are not normally getting into the event, a few Canadian AMs as well. And listen, I can't remember what the number was. Was it plus 375 or plus 400? The other best bet of the week that we had was the over on the max number of Canadians to make the cut.
I know, man.
It came through for us.
And it was a sweat. It was a big-time sweat. And I'll be honest, it was a doubled sweat because that was the one day I was on the course, boots on the ground. We were following Svenny for most of the day, and he was playing great. If he could make a putt, like if he could train a birdie putt, this guy should have been going low. It's just he was everywhere around it. Still a pretty solid round for him. I think he ended up 1 under. But we were with his reps, and we're following around. And that 18, he misses a putt. Like it's a long putt, but completely pushes it left. And we're all nervous here because now all of a sudden, okay, if he misses this other putt and bogey's here, now he's going to be right on the cut line. Now this is a concern. So not only is it a sweat because of the bet that we had, it's also, I don't want our guy Adam Svensson to be the reason why this doesn't cash. Sure enough, the cut line holds. He ends up having an all right weekend. Saturday, Sunday, he was up and down. But he took that momentum. He qualified on Monday. So he's going to be in the U.S. Open. He's golfing this weekend as well, which is, I'm trying to balance out. Is this too much golf for him? Or is this a case where it keeps his irons hot? Kind of looks like this could be a place, Muirfield and Pine Ridge. These could be Pinehurst, sorry. These could be two courses that, if he putts well, he could be up for a solid week. But all in all, it was an awesome week. Jake did a phenomenal job. Sunday was by far the worst weather day. We had unreal weather all week long in Hamilton, and then Sunday
it looked wild on TV, dude. Like I'm sure you weren't there, were watching it as well. I mean, as Bobby Mack went to 18, you had that fog set in. It was listen, it was a really, really cool scene. Obviously, Rory and Tom Kim wowed everybody with their final rounds, and both had great finishes. Rory, I mean, automatic top 10. So again, big part of the Greggy's golf special. And we'll get to all that. So we will have Memorial picks coming up at the bottom of the hour. But a couple of things we should get to right away. We've got CFL kickoff tomorrow. And
yes, we do.
Iwanek did a great job yesterday coming in. We kind of went through all the win totals for the season. We went through the Grey Cup odds. We'll also get to tomorrow on the program. I'm going to fire off a few of my favorite player props for the season that you can get in before kickoff right here in Winnipeg tomorrow night in the Grey Cup rematch. And Pat, and you know what, you and Jake, if you guys want to participate in this, you are more than welcome. With Iwanek being in for Dusty yesterday, we started talking about this. You know what we're going to need to do? We need to have a season-long handicapping contest of the Canadian Football League in the lock shop, and it's expanded now. Iwanek is in, myself and Dusty, obviously. Remus is in from WST. They put out the invite to LTE and maybe a couple of the other guys. So you guys can think about that tonight. And if you want in, you'll be firing your picks. We'll take the lines from Coolbet every week and see how it goes. So tomorrow, the official week 1 against the spread picks will come out from yours truly. And Dusty will send his over as well. And I am so pumped. I mean, we talked in the lock shop every week throughout the playoffs, how excited I was to decide which of my wagers were going to get the 20% multiplier. And now I have that same decision to make for one of 4 Canadian football games every week because the 20% booster is back for the CFL.
Yeah, it is. We're excited for this. I know a lot of folks, including yourself, Huss, have been loving the campaigns that include the win boost. So this year, we're calling it the 3-down thrill, a 20% win boost every week of the CFL. So basically, each week, you'll have an opportunity to boost up your bet by 20%, minimum odds of minus 150. No opt-in. You don't have to opt in at all. So go to the CFL page, pick your bet. As long as it's minus 150 or longer odds, you'll get that plus 20% added to your potential winnings, and you get that once a week. So we're super stoked about it. It's going to be a really fun CFL season, and I think this just kind of adds to a little more of the excitement. And full disclosure, I'll be the first one to say I am a casual CFL bettor. I know there are some folks that do keep their eye on it, but maybe aren't as quite diehard as some others. This is a great opportunity to dip your toes in and at least give it a try. But if you got a little money on it, you get a little boost, and then you watch the game, trust me, you're going to enjoy it. I plan on following the CFL a lot more this year. Last year, down the stretch, I was watching a ton of CFL football. It helped that the Argos were on an all-time heater. We'll see what happens this year with the Boatmen without Swag Kelly. Maybe it's a good thing. Who knows? But I'm looking forward to it. I think it's a great season. You said it yesterday on the show. I think we have some of the best parity that we've seen in the CFL in a very, very long time. A lot of teams at the top aren't quite as strong as they have been in the past, and a lot of the bottom feeders aren't going to be quite as bad as they've been. So I think, of course, you're always going to have the Bombers near the top. Depending on what happens at quarterback for the Argos, they're going to be there. BC looks like they're poised for another great season. But after that, I think it's completely wide open. And you said it. Even last year, the Alouettes were nobody had that team winning the Grey Cup.
They were dead last in the Grey Cup odds.
Dead last.
And they ended up winning. That's the beauty of the Canadian football. You can listen, with football, a season can change in a second with an injury to a top player, particularly a quarterback. And just one more note on that 20% multiplier. When we were going through, and listen, I am not pandering to the Edmonton part of our audience right now by saying my favorite future right now on the board is the Elks over 6.5 wins. Now, Iwanek did mention that ESTers have been hammering this number to the point where it's gone from like 105 to minus 133. But I did the math. And like, if you're going to make a little bit of a bigger bet on your team, which is a season-long bet, it's like going into a hockey pool or something like that. the 20% multiplier essentially takes that minus 133 number down to a normal minus 110. So you can use the 20% multiplier on futures and props. So think about that when you make your week one pick, and make sure to take advantage of that bonus. You don't have to do anything. You just click on it. You'll have the option to do it when we get it. Pat, the other thing we haven't had a chance to talk to, and I'm interested in your thoughts, is the Cup Final. And again, we don't have to make a pick right now. We can get to that, on Friday. But I'm looking at, it's just been really interesting following the line throughout the week. Like when Coolbet dropped the odds right after Game 6 between the Oilers and the Dallas Stars, the Panthers opened at minus 125 favorites, and the Oilers were plus 105. Over the course of the last 3 days, the Oilers have gone to plus 110, plus 119, and right now at plus 120. I certainly have time for saying the Panthers should be a slight favorite right now. But I'll tell you what, if you've been patient and waited, I think this number on Edmonton is crazy value for a team that I believe is, I don't want to call this a coin flip, but I suggest it's a 51-49, 52-48 equation that we're talking about with certainly two teams that deserve to be there. And I think we can say now, based on what we've seen in the playoffs, the two best teams in the NHL right now in early June.
Yeah, I think we always forget, because we know it's no secret. We have quite the following of Coolbet in Edmonton. There's no denying. You look at any of the exclusives we throw out there, and in the futures, lines move like crazy. But let's not forget, this is the entire country. Other people outside of that province are probably betting the Panthers to win. And let's also not forget, Coolbet is worldwide. We are quite popular in Finland, and one of Finland's favorite teams is the Panthers because of Sasha Barkov.
Probably some action on speaking of that. Conn Smythe odds are out right now, and this is one thing that this is new today. No surprise that McDavid is the Conn Smythe favorite at plus 190. And honestly, I could argue that if you want to bet the Oilers to win the series, who are at plus 120, you'd probably be just as well off, if not better off, taking that same money and just put it on McDavid to win the Conn Smythe, because it's hard to imagine the Oilers winning the Stanley Cup and Connor McDavid not being the Conn Smythe Trophy winner. So he's there. The next Oiler on the list is Draisaitl at 7-1 and Bouchard are 8-1. And I think based on what's happened so far in the playoffs, those numbers should be closer. But let's be real. We're living in Connor McDavid's world right now. His point totals are obscene. So are the other guys. And if they're going to win, he's going to be a big part of it. So that is a different angle to take on it. However, on the Panthers side of things, it's very even. Barkov's 4-1. Bob is 4-1. Tkachuk is plus 450. And Carter Verhaeghe is 23-1. I do think you just brought up the Finns. If you're on the Florida side, I'm a little surprised that there's not a gap between Barkov and the other guys as the Conn Smythe Trophy winner. I think great value on Barkov right now. I figured that number would be closer to plus 250, and the other guys would be more than 5-1.
Yeah, I think right now, looking at that board, Barkov at plus 400 is probably my favorite bet of the shorter odds. I think you could definitely make a case 7-1 for Draisaitl, but I tend to agree. I think the Oilers win. It's McDavid. I did bet Hyman 33-1 just because the number is so crazy. He'd have to go off this finals and really rack up the goals, and McDavid would have to be neutralized maybe by Barkov, but there is a possibility at 33-1. As a Leaf fan who still loves Zach Hyman, I had to do that. I absolutely had to get that. The other long shot that I do like for Florida would be Carter Verhaeghe at 23-1. He'd have to have a massive final, but also another possibility. Just at that number, 23-1, it's great. But I tend to agree with you. I think the guys that are listed between McDavid to Tkachuk, whichever team does win, I think it's there. Bobrovsky at 4-1. again, he would have to be an absolute stud this series for me to think that he's going to get it.
Oilers are too
But
good.
that
Like, he's
Barkov,
not getting 2 or 3 shutouts in this series. I mean,
no.
like, and I know the Oilers had 10 shots and they won a game against Dallas. Very unique scenario. This is going to be listen, Florida. If anything, I would say Stuart Skinner, who lost his job for a while earlier in the playoffs. He was so good in the Dallas series. If he somehow plays even at a higher level and maybe got a couple shutouts or something, there might be some steam for him. But let's face it, we're talking Connor McDavid. If it's Oilers, it's Connor McDavid. And that's why I honestly would say that a McDavid Conn Smythe bet, if you were going to throw $20 or $50 on this series, you're getting plus 120 on the Oilers. I can't. It's very, very difficult to imagine him not winning the Conn Smythe Trophy. So, if at minimum, Oiler fans, I would suggest, say you were going to put $50 on the Oilers, split it 25 and 25 or 20 and 30, and I think you will end up ahead. Of course, the game finally gets going on Saturday night, game 1 of the Cup Finals. We do have the NBA tomorrow, Pat. And, we've talked NBA throughout. Game number 1 is in Boston. Man, the Celtics minus 244 favorite in game number 1. The Dallas Mavericks plus 202. And, this Celtics number has not changed since they won their series, and we were still looking to see if it was going to be Mavs or T-Wolves. Minus 233 for the Celtics, and the Mavs have settled at plus 185. The time to get the Mavs was after they lost game 4 because it did get up to 220. We talked about it on the Lock Shop, but can the Mavs pull off the upset, or is this about Boston? Full disclosure, I'm no basketball expert, and I've always hated the Celtics. So I am certainly pulling for Luka. And I can't believe I'm saying this. Kyrie Irving, who I've really warmed to over this season, was never a fan of his before. And Irving is such a fascinating figure in this because there's a lot of smoke there with Kyrie and his former team, the Boston Celtics. No love lost whatsoever between the fan base in the Garden and Kyrie. I think that might bring out the best in him. And Luka's going to be ready to put his stamp and, be the guy on a championship team. I kind of think there's value in the Mavericks. I just don't know whether they're going to win. I would not be putting a lot of money on the Celtics at a massive favorite at minus 233.
Now, this for me, I've said it on this program before, I know we should be giving the Celtics more respect, because they just basically cakewalk through the entire East. Hold
on 1 second. I just got to give a shout out to Matt Hyman, who has been giving us updates, speaking of hoops, on the CEBL through this. I guess they had a day game earlier, a schools game, and I was just catching up to this. The Sea Bears almost blew it. They had a 4-point lead. They had 2 free throws to win, bricked them both. And then the man, Teddy Buckets, comes through and makes it happen and quiets the crowd. Sea Bears, 3-1 on the season. Matt Hyman, thank you very much for the update on the CEBL. And it looks like the Stingers actually lost their first game. Wouldn't be surprised if Edmonton and Winnipeg actually are the teams to beat once we get to that tournament later on this year. Anyways, sorry to interrupt you. You're talking NBA finals, but I did not want to miss that. Matt did such a good job of keeping Lock Shoppers up to date with what was happening in that Sea Bears game.
Oh, I love that. I absolutely love that. Yeah, both teams have been a bit of a wagon in the CEBL. We'll have to keep our eyes on that. And just kind of going through this, Luka's a killer, man. Like, Luka is an absolute beast. He's averaging over nine assists each game. He's averaging like plus 30 points a game. Like, he's very close to averaging like a triple double every single game. He's over, I think it's over 8.5 is assist total right now for game 1. I've already bet that. It's now down to minus 120. I would still bet that there. I think Luka, I think Kyrie. To be honest, about that like Kyrie versus Boston thing, I know they hate him. I would not be surprised if Luka ends up being more of public enemy number one when it comes to Boston hating them. So I like that for game one, but I think this goes the distance. I think Dallas is going to give this team a lot of troubles. I think Boston probably wins, but you said it. Well, I can't possibly bet that juice. So what I actually really like is the series total games over 6.5 at plus 210. I think this goes 7. I think it's Boston in 7. Wouldn't be surprised if it's Dallas in 7 either. But I think this is a longer series than what the odds makers have. So give me over 6.5 games. Give us a game 7 plus 210, and we get to cheer against Boston and maybe hope Dallas can push them to the
Exactly.
brink.
You know what? I think I'll ride with you on that. I mean, I certainly think the Mavericks have shown that they can beat top teams. I know Boston's been great, but who have they really played? I mean, their path to the final, nothing like what it took to get out of the West. So, and we'll get Jake's pick on that tomorrow when he jumps on in the lock shop. Listen, we won't spend any time on the Jays other than don't be surprised. I think Duck Dad was, it's just another day to fade the Jays. I know Barrios is on the hill today. Don't be surprised if the Orioles, and don't take offense if the Orioles come up as today's Coolbet play of the day, because they're actually underdogs. They're underdogs at even money to the Jays. So,
I know.
Well, I'll consider that for the play. That'll be out on the Coolbet socials later on today. Make sure you're following Coolbet Canada on X and Instagram. But Patty, let's get to it. The main course for Wednesday, that is the Memorial Tournament. We talked about the great week in Canada, and now coming off the longest day in golf, as you mentioned, with the number of players that'll be in this tournament qualifying for the U.S. Open. We've got an elevated event. All the top players in the world are here. Scotty Scheffler, the favorite at plus 350. Rory coming off that brilliant weekend, 9-1, along with major champion Xander Schauffele, I should say.
Yes, people forget
rest of the odds boards of the favorite, Morikawa, 14-1. Vic, plus 1,600, 16-1. Ludwig Oberg, our guy, 22. Pat Cantlay, a former winner of this event, at 25. JT, 28. Fleetwood and Hideki at 35. And then you get down to a group of 50s, including Benny On, Wyndham Clark, Corey Connors, Tony Finau, Matty Fitz, Russell Henley, Max Homa, Siwoo Kim, Spieth, Sahith Theegala. What's going on with Sahith? Tom Kim, and then you get into the 60s. No surprise if Scheffler's in a tournament, he's going to be an incredibly short favorite. But this is a very, very stacked event because it is an elevated event. And everyone not only is going to want to win, but play very well and put them in a great position for another major championship next week.
Yeah, I said it off the top of the show. I think a lot of the guys that are going to be in contention this week are going to be the same guys for next week. There are a lot of long shot numbers that I do like, but I just have a feeling the next couple of weeks we're going to have some big names. And maybe it's not a Scotty or a Xander or a Rory, but it's going to be a name that that is considered to be, let's say, a top 15, top 20 golfer, somewhere from that. Because just these two courses, especially this week at Muirfield, like, you have to be a good ball striker. You have to be a great second shot player to have success at this course. So when I was looking at some of the numbers, strokes gained approach was one of them. Good drive percentage was one of them. And then strokes gained on bent grass was another one. With the small greens here at Muirfield, normally you'd be looking at, okay, guys that can scramble well, guys that are chipping well. But if you're just hitting greens and pin seeking, you don't really have to worry about chipping. And I'm more concerned about the guys being able to, and I don't even really need bombers at this course. Bombing would be great. but you got to be able to keep it in the fairway because these are really tough greens, and it's really hard to find yourself, onto the greens. Tough roughs, and it's tough to get out of that rough onto the green. And if you're not, you could be in trouble because, again, very small greens. So I'm looking near the top of the board for someone to win. And I think it's going to set us up. It's going to be a little appetizer for Pinehurst and for the U.S. Open next week.
So let's start with your card, buddy. Who is getting your outrights? Then we can dive into anything in exclusives or any top 10s or top 20s that you like.
Well, if we want to start with, do we want to start with our outright cards, or do we want to go with some of the other stuff first?
Well, it's up to you. I mean, I've got here. I don't know. I'll throw you mine right off the bat because often you have a little bit more in here. I mean, listen, I'm looking at this board, and obviously I'm thinking Scotty Scheffler. I think Rory will be in the mix. I'm Xander at 9-1 in this field. I don't think there's value there, although respect to him. I mean, I am fascinated to see how he plays moving forward in some of these events. I mean, he was always top 5 Xander. Now does he win a few more events, after finally getting over the hump? But listen, my favorite play, I was thinking Morikawa as well, but I'm going to go with Vic. He's the defending champion of this event. He is perfectly suited to dominate on a course like this. Ball striking is there. He has such a complete game. Now, we can say that about the guys on top of him in the leaderboard as well. But I just think that Vic, the way he's trending right now, coming back to a place with the good vibes of winning last year, focusing on the major next year, don't mind him at 16-1 of the guys near the top of the board. The other guy that has won this tournament before that I do have an outright bet on is a little further down the leaderboard is Hideki Matsuyama. And Hideki, when he's on, when his irons are dialed in, I mean, he's right there with the best in the world. Now, has his recent form been great? Nah, maybe not. But being a former major champion, being a former winner at the Memorial, I think he comes into this event with a real level of confidence that not only can he play and do well at this event, but have that build into next week. So at 35-1, got a little sprinkle on him. And a guy that I've hit on a couple of times that, honestly, when you look and dive into the stats this year on the PGA Tour, when it comes to ball striking and accuracy with the irons, that is completely underrated, but is right there with the best in the world, is our guy Hollywood Hoagie. And Tom Hoagie is 80-1 for this event. So a smaller play on Hoagie at 80-1. And you know what? I probably should, maybe go with the plus 450 for a top 10, 11-1 for a top 5. Maybe we'll throw him in to get us a bit better of a number if we're going to throw a few guys in for top 20s. But I do think Hoagie, like amongst that group from 66 to 100, is a guy that, drop a few putts, he actually could be in there. And while we're at it, I didn't bet him to win, although I might add that, is Corey Connors. And Corey at 50-1 to win the event is, listen, you just laid it out. I mean, when you're talking about ball strikers and iron, there's few better in the world as consistently as Corey Connors. And we saw what he did on Sunday in the Canadian Open. He was absolutely dialed in and came from way back to become top Canadian in that tournament and catch some tickets for some people. I've got Corey at top 10 at plus 240. To be in the mix, much like he was at the Canadian Open, to build on that performance at plus 240. So that's sort of where I've started the card. And then obviously we can get into some exclusives as well. But what do you have in already, whether it be outrights or some longers, and then we'll get to the special in a little bit more.
Yeah, we have no surprise here, have a little bit of an overlap. I'm on Vic Hovland.
Yeah.
I think he's back, man. BVD, I think he's back. He looked great at the PGA Championship. He finished solo third. He's gained strokes on approach in 5 of his last 6 starts. And he's been great off the tee as well, which we know when he's on, he is one of the best tee players in the game. He's 11th on tour in stroke gains off the tee this year. And I know a lot of people might be afraid, and he doesn't really look like a course fit here because if there is one knock on his game, it is his short game, although it has improved. If you're sticking it on the green and you're a GUR machine, greens and regulation machine, your chipping doesn't matter. And I think that was the case that we saw him last year where he won this tournament. He's actually moved. Like his number was even longer this week. The fact that Hovland and Ludwig Aberg have completely switched just kind of goes to show you where Hovland's game is and where people think he's trending in the right direction. And Ludwig's knee is certainly a cause of concern. I'll say this right now, Ludwig not on my card this week, but I already have a bet in on him to win next week. I bet him to win pretty much every single major after his performance at the Masters, but I want to see how he looks this week. So he's off my card. Another guy that's on my card that you had was Corey Connors at 50-1. Won't spend too much time breaking down the stroke gain numbers because you said it simply. When he's on, he is one of the best ball strikers in the game. The one thing I do want to highlight, though, is everyone's terrified of his putting, and for good reason. He is a terrible, terrible putter. He's like in 140th on tour in strokes gained. He's losing strokes per round with his putter. But last week, the flat stick was on fire. He gained 4.55 strokes gained with the flat stick at Hamilton. And on bent grass, he's actually proven that he's pretty solid. He's 30th in the field in strokes gained on bent grass.
If Corey Connors is in a positive number on the greens, he can absolutely top 10 and he could potentially win. I mean, a Corey Connors with a hot putter contends anywhere in the world.
Scary. Yeah, 100%. And that's what we saw him on Sunday. He was making his putt and he's striping the ball. Speaking of ball strikers, I know kind of going out of order, I wanted to hit the 2 guys that you already mentioned first. Colin Morikawa, 14-1. I don't know if he wins here. Colin's getting a win at some point. The way he's been hitting the ball, it's been impressive. Top 5 in 3 of his last 5 starts. That includes a T3 at the Masters and a T4 at the PGA Championship. We know how elite he is at striking the ball. He's actually been great off the tee this year. Very improved. 16th in strokes gained off the tee on tour and gained strokes in 7 straight events off the tee. He's got great track record here. Won the Workday Open in 2020. Lost at this event back in 2021. He loves playing Jack Nicklaus designed courses. He has a win at Montreux and Concession, both clubs that were designed by Jack. And in his last 36 round, he's ranked 3rd strokes gained total on Nicklaus designed course and ranked 1st in the field in good drive percentage on Nicklaus design. So Morikawa at 14-1. I'm also going to take a little bit of insurance here for him. Top 10 at plus 110 because we've seen he has fizzled out. I would be interested. I don't see the number. I haven't taken a look. But first round leader, Colin Morikawa, would be a bet that I certainly would be thinking about because we've seen him start strong. He hasn't been able to finish strong. It's going to happen over the next few weeks. He's going to finish strong and win. Is it here? I don't know, but I don't want to be late to the train. So I'm on Morikawa 14-1. And sticking the theme with ball strikers, Benny On. Our guy, Benny On, friend of the program, has been on fire this year. An absolute ball striking heater. And he's got some great finishes, just haven't been able to finish. T16 at the Genesis, T16 at the Masters, a T8 at the API, and 3rd at the Wells Fargo. This is a guy in signature events and in majors. He does not fizzle away from the bright lights. His concern, obviously, is putting. But if he can strike the ball well and make sure he's not having to, nail these long putts and have 2-3 putts, if he's just getting it close to the hole, he's going to be fine. He also has really good track history at this course. 5 top 25 finishes in 8 starts at Muirfield. And remember, all the way back to 2018, he lost in a playoff to Bryson DeChambeau. I know it's been quite some time since then, but he has had some great track record here. So I like him to win this thing, but I'm also going to take his top 10 at plus 250. And even looking at his top 20 at minus 105, I really like that one there. And then a guy who I don't have an outright bet on, but I'm going to bet him to finish in the top 20 is Sepp Straka at plus 130. I think this is a great fit for him course-wise. And to be honest, he has been phenomenal over the past month. Really, really well. So for Sepp, he keeps everything in the fairway and he strikes the ball well. This is exactly what you need at Muirfield. So give me Sepp Straka, top 20, plus 130.
You know, you just mentioned the Morikawa top 10, and it's getting me even more excited for next week, because you will recall, Pat, in the winter when they dropped those specials, I took Morikawa to finish top 10 in all 4 majors.
Oh, yeah.
At 125 to 1. And
yes.
He is halfway there. I love where his game's at heading into the US Open. If he can just get it done, that will make for a very exciting Open Championship for yours truly and anybody else that was on it. I'm just looking right now. I'm sure later on today maybe we'll get our first round leader number. Right now we've got all the matchups that are there for, I believe these are round 1 18-hole betting. So if you want to dive into some of the head-to-head matchups, we can.
Here's my thought, Huss. Let's, because I know we didn't cash that ticket, but I love the round 1 lock shop exclusive. I like the tournament long one, so maybe we'll put 2 together. But I was thinking before we do that, maybe let's dive into the exclusives real quick.
Yes,
see what's already out there, so we don't kind of double up. I've already got 2 Greggy's golf specials out there, and as you mentioned, we've been cashing those. Not both. I've been putting 2 out, and at least one of them, it seems like in the last 3 weeks, one of them is cashed. So I've got Vic Hovland, Corey Connors, and Sepp Straka all to finish inside the top 20. That's 11 to 1.
I like that.
And then I've got Colin Morikawa, top 10, and Taylor Pendrith to make the cut at plus 300. And yes, this is a signature event, Huss, but there is a cut here. There's not going to be many golfers that are cut, but there are going to be a few that don't make it to the weekend. I think Pendy, the way he has been playing, I know this isn't the best course fit for him, but he's been playing so well, and it is a smaller cut line. I think he gets there. So those are my 2 Greggy Golf specials. There's a couple other ones if you wanted to dive through. I think anytime you can get these Scotty or Rory specials, I'm going to bet Scotty Scheffler because I got to get a piece of him somehow. Scotty Scheffler to win by 2 strokes or more, plus 550. I think we've done all this analysis on everything here, Huss. If Scott's on his game, he could run away with this thing. Like, this course is a course for the horses. He's a ball striker. When his putting's on, he's virtually unbeatable. I think we could be putting all this work and all this analysis to our outright bets, and come Saturday, this thing is over.
Well, and just on the Scotty Scheffler, I mean, 20 to 1 to win wire to wire. I mean, if you're feeling like he can come out, and often, he'll be a couple strokes back. He's always there. I mean, he could easily go out and have a great round right off the bat, have a couple shot lead, and never look back. So that is another place to look at it. I'm kind of seeing some other interesting combos for fans of the Spring Breakers. Thomas and Spieth, 12 to 1. And then a Ludwig top 10, Vic top 20 is plus 325. I'm just waiting on Ludwig just to see him have a couple rounds back. I'd love to be betting him next week, but we're going to be a little bit cautious on that. And then, of course, we've got some Canadian stuff in there. And hey, if you like a Canadian player to be top 5, any of them in the field, plus 330 on that. Don't mind it. And hey, if you just want to bet a Canadian player to win it, you get Corey, you get Penny, you get Mac Hughes, Spenny, 40-1 on that number, putting it all together. And the big dogs, Scheffler, McIlroy, and Xander Schauffele to finish top 10 plus 380. Listen, I can totally see. I'm going to wait and see about Xander. He's the big game hunter right now. He's going to be getting ready for next week, so we'll stay on that. But as far as if we want to do a top 20, so you already have Morikawa, the top 10, and then the Victor Hovland, Corey Connors, Sepp Straka. So those are a couple of the guys that we like. We could go with Morikawa top 20.
Yep.
As I said, I mean, Hideki, I'm in. If we want to go a longer one, we could go Tom Hoagie. I'm not sure as many people would be supporting the Hoagie pick because it is a little bit more off of the.
What about Benny on? Benny on, Decky, and Colin.
Boom. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Love that.
Some of our favorite Asian golfers. So one from America, one from Japan, and one is Ben Korean?
Yes, he is. Yeah. Benny on's Korean.
I love it. I love it. Three of my favorites, putting them all together there. And again, Colin, feel free to win the tournament. Well, maybe go top 10. Maybe go top 10. Let Vic win the whole thing and then make it done. Okay, well, listen, before we're done, let's get to what we've got tomorrow. Just looking, perusing, and again, if you're on the site, gang, there's the futures tab, and then there's games. Games is these head-to-head matchups right out of the gate. Well, Betty on's minus 167 against Brendan Todd. A little bit of a chalky number, but I certainly like that. Pick them between Lowry and Matty Fitz, which is interesting. Just as far as that. Tom Kim is minus 116. Denny McCarthy's minus 110. I mean, if we all want to put in recent form, I thought Tom Kim was absolutely lights out on the weekend. And he's a hell of a fun guy to cheer for. So as a big Tom Kim guy, I would certainly be in on that. I see Hoagie's a big favorite over Cam Davis at minus 154. If we're not putting him in the other one, maybe we throw him on that. I'm just throwing out some possibilities. Any other ones that sort of stand out to you as we go through the list, Pat?
Obviously, I'm always a big fan of Akshay Bhatia. He's minus 154 against Matthew Pavon, but Pavon's quite the ball striker, so I don't know if I like that. Plus, it's minus 154. Again, it's a parlay, so that one I'll probably stay away. This one's interesting. I like both these guys actually this week. Austin Eckroat and Thomas Detry. Minus 116 for Eckroat, minus 110 for Detry. I think that one's too close to call. But Tony Finau, minus 167 against Patrick Rogers. Again, Thigala is my guy. He has been real bad.
He's lost.
He is absolutely lost. He's not even putting well right now, and that's his game. He's minus 102 heads up against Russ Henley, who's minus 125. That just goes to show you where his game is right now. Fleetwood, minus 147 against Harris English. And then if you scroll all the way down, my favorite, Taylor Pendrith, 128 against Davis Riley. Really like Pendrith in this tournament. I think that's a number that I'd have no problem going up against. Is there any other ones that jump out to you here, Huss?
Funny, Davis Riley just won, didn't he? A couple of weeks ago? Or I'm getting
a few weeks ago, yeah. I think so.
I was a little surprised just that Pendy was as big a favorite in that one as he is. But certainly, hey, listen, we're always backing Pendy on this one. Rory minus 167 versus
was it the Charles Schwab, maybe?
I think that's right. That's right. He came in. He was like 100-1 or something like that. Had a big, big win. Just looking, Billy Ho, who won this tournament before, and Willie Z. Yep. That's kind of a tough one to take. And then Scotty Scheffler, poor Ludwig, the biggest underdog on the board. He got matched up against Scotty Scheffler for number one. Well, I'll tell you what, why don't we go with this? I mean, if we want to go Benny on, if we want to do a four-banger, we got Benny on, Tom Kim, Hoagie, and Pendy.
Love that.
Is plus 775 before a boost.
Love that. So Benny, tell me that one again.
Okay, so Ben on minus 167, yep. Tom Kim minus 116, Tom Hoagie minus 154, and Pendy minus 128.
Yep. Absolutely love that.
First round matchups. Ben going up against Todd, Kim against Danny McCarthy, Hoagie against Cam Davis, and Pendy versus Davis Riley. So we'll get that up. No, will that be in a lock shop? Will that be in the lock shop section or in the Memorial?
It will be in the Memorial, but it will be labeled as lock shop.
Perfect.
So
perfect.
Go to the Memorial. That's where you'll see all the other ones as well. We'll have that one for our round one, but we'll also have our outright one. And that's where you can find the Greggy's golf specials as well.
Perfect. You know what? I just realized something. We are in a situation where I should have done this before, and I have to apologize to Zacticum because you're probably wondering what the hell the keyword is today. Of course, the $100,000 hole-in-one presented by Golf Town is happening with Edmonton Sports Talk. What you need to do is mention today's keyword, and it is carry, much like the fan carried the bag. Could you carry CT Pan's golf bag, please? So there you are. Carry it is. Fire it away at text that number, that word carry in to 780-218-9999. Check out the exclusives, the Memorial exclusives. We'll get R2 added in there and get ready for tee off tomorrow. Patty, we went a little long, but we had a lot to talk about, even though it's quiet right now before the finals get going on Thursday and on Saturday. And, of course, CFL kickoff tomorrow. Pat, thanks so much for doing this. Everybody in chat, have a great day. We had a big show coming up, talking some more CFL. Dave Naylor's going to jump on with us, getting ready for kickoff tomorrow here in the bag. So join us for that, and we'll see you tomorrow when the CFL returns. Week 1 picks tomorrow in the lock shop. Pat, thanks so much. We'll turn you back to Zach and the boys at ESTHQ.
Thank you, gents. And as Huss threw out there, the keyword carry to 780-218-9999. $100,000 hole-in-one contest will take place July 3rd at the Ranch Golf and Country Club, 17th hole, 180 yards out. Swing big this Father's Day. Find dad or yourself the perfect gift at Golf Town. Save big with huge deals on TaylorMade in-store online now through June 9th. Don't miss the top deals like the TaylorMade Sim2 driver for only $330, 25% off all TaylorMade bags, 2 dozen prior gen TP5 golf balls for only $80, plus much, much more this Father's Day. Give the gift to golf. Visit them in store at golftown.com for more details. Some exclusions apply. Golf Town, your ultimate destination for Father's Day gifts. We'll have another qualifying opportunity today for the $100,000 hole-in-one contest presented by Golf Town during the oil stream, as myself and Tom Gazzola will be taking over the airwaves here on Edmonton Sports Talk, getting you further set, I guess, if you will, for the Stanley Cup Finals, as the Edmonton Oilers will be taking on the Florida Panthers. The Oilers at ice. They were on the ice today at the downtown community rink for their practice. Tommy was there, so we'll get his thoughts as well as all the news from Oilers practice. That's coming up next here on Edmonton Sports Talk during the oil stream. Don't go anywhere. We're up in just a few minutes.